Steve Bowers welcoming you to Dialogue here at E+ TV6 and a conversation with Steve Raper, who is retiring from the Jackson Energy Authority after nearly 40 years here. Well, maybe counting the work you did in high school, you've been here 40 years, right?
I have.
Okay.
All in a little over 38 years.
So you got started with the grounds crew?
Grounds crew. Yeah, I was a junior in high school. And so what was that, 1977.
Okay.
And worked about a summer and a half, and then got my foot in the engineering door and finished my school at UT Martin on an engineering degree, and you know, the rest is history.
There it is. So you started out, your first position here full-time was?
Was project engineer in the water department.
Mm-hmm. And of course, worked his way all the way to the senior vice president of the water division here at the Jackson Energy Authority. Now, your family was in this business.
My mom started all this with Humboldt Utilities, or West Tennessee Gas Company, and she met my dad. John D. Graham introduced them.
Oh, is that right?
Back
okay.
in the day, and then she transferred from Humboldt to Jackson.
So John D. was involved with the utility company at that time?
No. They knew each other through church at St.
Okay.
Mary's.
St. Mary's, okay.
And been longtime friends. My dad and John D. was, and you know, and then introduced mom and dad, and the rest.
So here you go. So
Yeah.
Katie actually brings the family into the utility business. So how did your father get involved?
He worked at an auto parts store. He was part of the Army Air Corps out at McKellar Field as a mechanic, and then got hired as a serviceman in the gas division with West Tennessee Gas Company when it later transformed into JUD in 1959.
Okay. So he goes back a good ways into this.
He does.
Okay.
He does.
Was he from here, or was he just here because of the military? Or?
Well, he finished his military service and then resided here,
Okay.
and you know, made his way and found a job and finished his military service, and then came to Jackson. His family originally transferred from Paducah on his side. My grandfather was Prince Leo Raper from Paducah, Kentucky.
Is that right?
And transferred with the railroad, the NC and St. L, and was a freight agent at the depot
here
on South Royal.
On South Royal.
Mm-hmm. His office was in there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's fat. That covers a lot of different things. So your father was out at McKellar Sipes, or as we call it, well, no, it's now Jackson Regional Airport.
Right.
But he was out there during World War II?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So that's well, you know, you think about people that were at halls, you know. So I guess the military president brought romance.
I guess he did.
Brought a lot of people.
One way or another. Yeah.
All right. Did you always want to get into the utility business then, when you were doing your engineering degree?
Well, I kind of got slowly exposed to it from a summer job into a drafting job at South Royal, and then into ultimately a full-time project engineer. I worked in Asheville, North Carolina on a hydroelectric project after I graduated Martin, and then that worked over there a couple of 2 or 3 years. And
so what year was that? You graduated?
That was 82, 3, 4.
When
roughly.
You graduated from Martin? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then got the opportunity to come back here as a project engineer for the first full-time job.
What was it like in those days? We were talking about Jackson Energy Authority, one company now, and the Jackson Utility Division merged all these different companies, but they still maintain very separate cultures.
They did. They still do financially.
Yes.
But then it was more separated with water and wastewater had a superintendent role to oversee the pipes, if you will, the water pipes, the wastewater pipes, and then you had Danny Lester was over the water treatment plants, and Don Jackwett was over the wastewater plants.
Okay.
So Truman Murray was over the collection distribution system, which was the crews. They're the ones cutting holes in the street and making repairs and replacements, that kind of thing. The engineering portion of that was on South Royal along with the crews, and they'd take calls. I dispatched while I was in college from South Royal over the weekends. All right. And you know, handled service calls on the weekends, or I didn't do those. There were servicemen supporting that. But I would dispatch out of that South Royal office on the weekends through college. Was
South Royal always the core of the water system? I know that plant is our oldest plant,
yeah,
right? As far as treatment
it
plant.
was a water treatment plant with a reservoir out there on the big flat spot of grass between the buildings on that corner of South Royal Magnolia. But yes, it was. Those pumps, I remember the pumps being in the bottom of the basement, and they would pump water into the reservoir, and it would be treated and then distributed.
Okay.
There was a lab in that old building at one time.
Is that right? So all that was on South Royal?
It was. It was.
Fantastic.
From my memory, yes.
Ricky Long, who's doing a dialogue with us, talked about he found an article about drifter may not be a fair term, but a man was coming through town, but that he died at the city jail. He was intoxicated, died at the city jail, but he spent the night at the waterworks, and they had registered him in, and it was fascinating that in those days, for some reason, waterworks is where people coming through town could sign in and stay, and it was a really interesting story. But I was trying to figure out exactly where it was, because that was early 1900s.
Right, right.
And I didn't know, but that the employee of the water system reported to the police, said, well, that guy was here last night, and it showed where he'd signed in. So
may have been the artesian well.
Could have been, yeah.
You know, drew a lot of people into Jackson.
And that's a fascinating story. So that fountain is still here. And
it's
it was
still here.
Part of Lancaster Park, I guess, at one
right.
time.
That's right. There used to be two fountains.
Okay.
I've got a picture of a frozen structure on one of the back fountains that he took a picture in 1925. We had a super hard freeze, and anyway, that was another.
Do you
fountain.
pronounce that Chalibut? Well, what is it? What is the
Chalibut?
Chalibut.
And I could be corrected on that too, but that's the way I've
heard different things, but it was mineral water.
It was.
And the fountain is still there, still functions.
It is.
But people came from all over the region to be able to drink that mineral water for health reasons.
Yeah. Still running naturally. It is.
And it's still there.
And it's still there, still going.
Preserved part of Jackson's history.
Yeah.
So the water system, when you started in, would have been, how many customers would we have had, and it would have served?
Oh gosh.
Back in those days?
Well, now we're up to. Let me go with current. We're 38,000 plus water customers.
Because we provide water to Medina, Tennessee as well.
That's right.
Okay.
That was added in the late 1999, 2000 window when Medina came to us. The local officials over there asked us if we would consider taking them over. We didn't pursue them. They asked us because they could see some growth potential out there, and it was a growth potential for us to expand and gain some water customers too. It was also an opportunity out of the county. So we overlap in several parts of the county now and have grown since Beach Bluff, Pinson.
So those were all standalone independent water systems?
They were utility districts, just like there are some in rural. That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
So you had those independent utility districts?
Yeah, yeah. Right. And they had grown, and they needed some expertise that they didn't have, and the state operator certifications came into play, and
it was the right time.
And we had some of that expertise and wanted to grow too.
Steve Raper is with us. He is retiring from the Jackson Energy Authority after nearly 40 years of service. He retires as the Senior Vice President of the Water Division. We'll continue this story because water is essential, going through some changes, and future demands are going to be interesting as we develop that. We'll continue this dialogue right here at E+ TV6.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Action!
Welcome back to Dialogue at E+ TV6 as we continue our conversation with Steve Raper. By the time you're seeing this, he will have retired from the Jackson Energy Authority after nearly 40 years, but we wanted to have an opportunity to talk to him, the length of service to this company and also his extensive work throughout the company, but also the water division. Gives us a point of contact with not only what's happening now, but our future as well. People, we forget about water. You know, my father tells a story that when he was a youngster that he always was the one that his mother would send to the creek to get water, and it kind of ticked him off. And finally, as an adult, he finally asked her one day, why was I always the one that you sent to get the water?
Yeah.
Because he had older brothers and younger brothers, and you know, he was, so because I could count on you, son. said your older brother Junior, we got there, and he'd go fishing. And so
he wouldn't complete the task.
He wouldn't complete the task. He would do it later in the day. I'd finally get the water. So it was one. But you know, you forget that water. Well, that's why we settle. We settle along rivers and along creeks and streams and creekers. They called old-time residents in counties, because water is essential, but not easily obtained.
Not easily obtained.
And now we take it for granted.
We do.
I mean, totally take it for granted. We just turn on a faucet and we forget that there used to have to be wells and everything else.
Right.
And so I think that is one of the challenges, I guess, in running a system, because, like I said, we don't ever store water. We don't keep water.
Right.
We just assume that you guys are going to be providing it.
That's right.
But there's a huge system that makes that possible.
Oh, gosh, yeah. The infrastructure's unbelievable. It's so interesting, both on the water and the wastewater side. But, you know, it takes a lot to get it delivered, get it out of the ground, and we're so blessed. I can't go any further without commenting about our aquifer and how blessed we've been to have this underground water source. It's very naturally clean. I've said it before, Steve, the coarse-bearing sand is a natural filter in the ground, and so we get the water in a really good high-quality component at both plants, the north plant and the south plant.
It should be noted, too, that some, for example, like in Lexington, they draw off Beach Lake, which is an above-ground water supply that was not there until the early 1960s.
That's right.
And so and that's a whole different set of challenges.
It is.
Out there.
It is.
And so and this aquifer of ours, as you talk about sand filtered, it's been here for a good while. And hopefully nothing will happen like New Madrid that'll ever shift that thing.
Right.
We don't want it going away because we
right.
count on it. But I mean, it is supplied this city.
It's fairly
well.
stable and abundant. The recharge into that area is really good. We've had drought conditions before where that level of subsurface water volume that we tap into to treat and send out for public water supply is in good shape. And through the drought years, we've never seen that diminish much, right, which is a blessing.
So we have these wells that tap into this aquifer, right?
Right.
Pull it out, and then it goes from there where?
It goes direct. It's a dedicated pipe from each of the wells into the treatment plants,
okay,
north and south. Two different sources, two different,
okay,
but they're the same source basically in the groundwater.
Right.
And then they're aerated and filtered and treated and disinfected according to state standards.
Right.
And so we have to follow those guidelines, and none of that can happen without just a really superior team that's qualified to do that.
So we got these pipes that attach to these wells that take this water and put it into these distribution plants, and it gets treated and everything else. And from there it goes.
It goes out. Once it's treated, processed, and treated like it's supposed to be, it leaves our plant and goes out into the water distribution system, the network of pipes.
Okay.
You see fire hydrants. That's one of the things that's. Our infrastructure is built around fire protection. So the larger pipes, the capacity, the volume of water, the pressure of that water.
The pressure has to be, what, 65 pounds per square inch to be maximum, right?
That's right. And we run in around the 70 to 80 pounds,
okay,
you know, on
So
average.
that pressure is constant for the fire system, right? It's constant everywhere else. Okay.
That fire hydrant sitting out there is really, really important.
Okay, and it's ready to go.
And it's ready to go, and it's supposed to be.
Well, we saw that in California. You plug them to them, the water's not there, the pressure's not there.
That's right.
You got an empty truck.
Yeah, firefighters are no good if they don't have the water to fight fire.
So that's sustained. All right, so now what are the water tanks that we have?
The tanks supply, elevating in water allows this basically to pressurize the system. So the 70, 80, 90 pounds roughly window.
Does all the water go into tanks somewhere?
It does.
Okay, so
Typically
it's
it does.
being held
and
in
that's
the-
reserve. If you have a fire, you can have capacity in those tanks for a high volume flow to not run out, so to speak.
So it's there for the pressure, but the pressure, well, obviously when I turn it on at the house, the water's right there.
That's right.
So it's pressure's ready to go.
Yeah.
How many miles of pipe is involved in this business?
We're in the ballpark of 900 miles plus.
Okay.
And that's acquiring some of these utility districts that's added quite a bit of footage, if you will, and mileage to our system. But yeah, it's well over 800 miles and into the 900 mile on the water system.
Okay, a pipe. And so the elevation of the tanks is what helps maintain the pressure.
That's right.
Okay.
And capacity of storage if needed.
Okay.
In other words.
So I'm holding it as, well, California's a prime example.
Right.
If something happens there and you get a major fires or whatever. We don't expect that here.
Right.
Of course, the one thing that happens here, you know, we assume everything's going to kind of stay stable. I know what the big question mark is earthquake, because with earthquake, you break up all the underground infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So your water system gets broken up, your gas system gets broken up.
Yeah.
So you're running without water and you got fire.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
That's right.
there can be challenges out
Well,
there.
and our newest tank was earthquake designed.
Okay.
The one out by the
Out by the
airport is 2.5 million gallons. I'm really proud. We all are proud of that big tank. It's the largest storage water tank on our system, and it helps supply fire protection out in their industrial park as well as industrial flow for their process.
When you're seeing explosive growth, as we're beginning to have in Jackson, as far as the number of housing units that are being added, I mean, it's stunning what's happened in the last couple of years, and more to come, apparently.
Right.
How do you plan for that, or would developers have to coordinate with the water system and then wastewater? Because you got to be able to discharge that sewage and get it treated. So
yeah,
I mean that all has to be factored into where a city goes.
That's right, and we work very closely with those developers. They're the ones who own and control the property, so to speak. Once they acquire the property and they want to develop it for a commercial center or residential area, they'll work with us and through the plat process and our engineering staff, the city planning department, that all comes together, and our staff of engineers has to approve the design of those layouts of water systems, sewer systems.
Well, I'll come back and pick that up. Because like I said, sewage to a certain extent, the ability for it to flow downhill or to be pumped effectively really dictates where you can develop.
That's right. It's a big key to development and growth, and whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial, it's key. You're not going to, typically people want to have a sanitary sewer system available. And you have to develop that, and it's very expensive infrastructure, of course.
Something else we take for granted.
Yeah,
I just flush it and it goes
gotta
away.
Once it's used, it's got to be cleaned up, and before it can go back to the stream.
It's a fascinating part of life that we take for granted. What's ahead? One thing, of course, testing and making sure that water is safe, and we'll pick that discussion up. Steve Raper's with us on this dialogue at E+ TV6.
What this place needs is better graduation rates.
What this place needs is less childhood obesity.
What this place needs is free help with taxes.
What this place needs is healthy breakfast.
What this place needs is fitness programs for kids.
What this place needs is early readers.
What this place needs is mentors for teens.
What this place needs is people to join us. What this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to UnitedWay.org.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Welcome back to Dialogue at E+ TV6 as we continue a conversation with Steve Raper, who has retired as Senior Vice President of the Water Division at the Jackson Energy Authority after nearly 40 years with this company. And he was involved in all different marketing and many other things, distribution and all the things that are involved as you work your way up in the ranks at the Jackson Energy Authority. But his career ends with him being the Senior Vice President of the Water Division. One other thing about water, and we take it for granted, we're talking about all this infrastructure, miles and miles of pipe and all this other stuff, and pressure and storage tanks and all these things that are there to keep it available. The pressure's there. Open the fire hydrant, the water is there. It's not, not having to pump it or wait on it or whatever. It's just there ready to go. It's an amazing structure. One other aspect of this that is crucial, and that is the safety of the water, not just the reliability of it, which we have, as you talked about, the aquifer and all this infrastructure, but it's got to be safe to consume. And that's a changing expectation.
It is. It is. Fluoride's a big issue. I'll just go ahead and say it. It's been back through the legislature, and some are for it and some are against it.
Right.
We've adjusted quantities and limits that the state has asked for, and
putting fluoride in was for dental health, right?
It was for dental health. The health department, the dental associations have all practically supported us, and we've gotten notoriety for 50 plus years of fluoridating the water. Right. But chlorinating the water for disinfection, it's got to be safe. It's got to meet standards that we're monitored for. I'm proud to say our sanitary survey, we talked about that last week, and we scored another perfect score.
590, these are unannounced inspections. They're done every 2 years at some point in a year. And the one in 2024 came up in December, right at the end of the year. It's unannounced. They go through every aspect of a water system. When I saw all the things that are checked, I mean, it's stunning.
Yeah. Engineering, distribution with the crews, the lab, the plant operation, the safety aspect of the perimeter with fencing, and again, tribute to the team making that happen.
State shows up unannounced, spends 2-3 days here, 4 days, bringing these people, and a perfect score of 599, and every 2 years, and it's the 4th consecutive time that the water system at JEA has gotten a perfect score, which covers distribution over the last 8 years. So congratulations. And
thank you. And the credit goes to the team.
That makes it
They're
happen.
on top of it every time and every day. We can't take it for granted. So.
We're going to see changes apparently in water testing, or the expectation of. I mean, I guess we find out more about things that can affect health, things that may be in the ground in different communities.
That's right.
And we've been blessed, as you talk, with a naturally filtered water supply, which puts us way ahead of most in this country. And we've had horror stories from Detroit to Jackson, Mississippi, or whatever, water systems that have not been able to sustain themselves or have not been sustained.
Right. That's right.
I guess. And so where are we now? We're going to be looking at more detailed testing, I guess, coming in the future.
More detailed testing, stringent limits. That all is driven by limits on each category, lead and copper, and that's another big one that's come along. And you know, you've got to meet certain standards there based on what the regulations call for. We have to meet those regulations based on state level.
The one good thing about the Jackson Energy Authority system is that it has stayed ahead of we were getting rid of lead and just like cast iron with natural gas. And this system got rid of it before it was mandated.
That's right. That's right. Back in the late 80s, 87, 88, lead was removed from solder, like soldering a pipe together, an old metal pipe. It was taken out of those compounds. It was just something that regulated out of the system.
Okay.
So past that point, you had to stop using any lead-based solder for piping systems, and some of the houses or have that lead in them because that's what they were used.
Well, yeah, the house. But as far as the Jackson Energy Authority water system itself, those pipes are gone.
They are gone. We have removed them. There was a program in place in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s to remove known lead service lines from the water main in the street up to the water meter. What EPA has done is they've taken that beyond the water meter to go all the way into the house. And so that includes both sides. We have to check for both, and we're glad to do that if the customer needs us to.
So that'll be something that'll continue to be surveyed.
It will be,
just for safety reasons, but it was done. So what is the composition of pipe today?
Today it's mostly copper.
Okay.
It can be various versions of plastic.
Because I know some of the pipes are huge.
Yeah, it used to be galvanized or lead. We just didn't do a lot of lead service lines. The durability of it, the flexibility of it, the long lasting, but now it's got to come out, right?
Okay.
The testing.
And at one time, concrete was a part of it.
Concrete was part of it. That's
system,
right.
yeah.
That's right. And but mostly copper is what we've used, and it's flexible too, but it's long lasting and it's durable and is reliable as far as leakage goes, that kind of thing. So it can create a good tight seal to provide that water for sure.
And the lab testing will continue to develop and become more and more detailed out there as things do change. Expectations change too. As well.
I expect those to just get tighter and tighter and tighter. That's what they're
looking back on this, and you've seen this company go through many changes where the divisions pretty much operate separately with their own engineers. They still do, and they still do financially, but it's combined. I mean, engineers are in one building, customer service is in one, all these things are combined. You saw all those changes in the reorganization.
I did.
Any people that stand out that were your predecessors or people that you worked with down through the years?
Well, I'm not going to single anyone out because I've been blessed and very grateful for many opportunities with the company. From, gosh, the original group on South Royal where I started, I shifted over to purchasing and stores when we were reorganized. John Williams had the vision to reorganize the company to provide some more convenience to our customers. Developers, builders, commercial side of things.
Come to one place.
Come to one place. You still had to see 3 separate system engineers or 4 separate system engineers, but they were all physically gathered in one physical location. So if a developer came in and wanted to do a development that we talked about previously, they could meet with all those different system discipline and plan for their project. And we could work with them. We continued to work with them all the way through the project too, today.
So it's been a good run. It's been a good run.
It's been a good run. It really has. Very grateful and many opportunities from cutting grass on through. So it's been a good run.
What do you want people to know about JEA?
That the leadership is solid. I am leaving at a time when I feel best about it. The staff, the leadership, the training, the education, the culture of providing service to customers, that's what makes my heart beat and always has. And I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of the team. It doesn't happen through any single person. It happens through a multitude of different areas and different disciplines across the board for the entire company. Not just water, not just electric, not just gas, not just wastewater, but telecom as well. So. The telecom division was added in the early 2003 officially. We were doing a lot of work before that got started, but again, a customer service level that's beyond any others, I think. And yes, I'm biased.
Yeah, all right. Well,
but we stand behind that.
Okay, it's good to see you, Steve.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Steve.
time. Continue best to you and your family.
Thank you.
Steve Raper with us, retired as the Senior Vice President of the Water Division here at the Jackson Energy Authority. Something we take for granted, but it's there every day.
We're proud of it.
Thank you for being with us, and stay with us here at E+ TV 6 because this is the place where the dialogue continues.
Leave something to remember so they won't forget I was here. I was here.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. For 100 years, the Boys and Girls Clubs have opened this door for America's youth. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.